Today I'm talking about campgrounds in Auckland and what it would be like trying to work and live in a caravan or a motorhome at the same time. So when I first thought of caravanning, I imagined it would just be easy. I looked online and there seemed to be quite a lot of campgrounds, and I thought no problem working in Auckland and living in a caravan at the same time. But it's turned out to be a little bit more tricky than I thought. So I'm going to show you the campgrounds in Auckland and just kind of tell you what it's actually like. There are three main apps for looking at campgrounds. I've actually forgotten the name of one of them. One of them is Ranks Camping NZ, which to be honest I hardly use, but it has a few other campgrounds that aren't on the other apps for some odd reason. And then there's Campermate, which is one that I used all the time, and then when I joined NZMCA, they have their own app, which I'm pretty sure is an extension of Campermate, and they have a lot more options. If you zoom right into Auckland City, the light blue represent campgrounds, and I've stayed at all three of them. The two inner city ones are around about $50 a night, and for Caravan, their non-powered sites are cheaper, but they're designed more for small motorhomes or vans, not really for caravans. So you're kind of stuck paying for a powered site, which is about $50 a night. Very expensive. And then they just have a rough element. There's no privacy, you know. Personally, I'm not a fan of those campgrounds. Northcote Campground on the North Shore, that's one that I have stayed at recently, and it's $30 a night, and it's still quite compact, but it feels nicer. It's probably my preferred campground for when I'm working in the city. But again, I don't know if I'd want to stay there long term. There is another marker, but that is actually a club, a working men's club, and the parking area is actually on a big slope, so I don't know if it'd be particularly comfortable. And there's this restriction is maximum 2-night stay. That's for $15 a night. There's two in Mangere area, which are interesting. There's one that people keep telling me about, Amberley Regional Park. That's with the Auckland Council. That's $15 a night, and the gravel section you can only stay 1 night, and the grassy section you can stay 7 nights. You have to ring the Auckland Council, and I've actually avoided this experience because I've heard it's quite a process, but I'm curious, I might stay there one day. But to be honest, I don't know how comfortable I would feel leaving my caravan there all day while I go to work. There's another place, it looks like someone set up a casual kind of campground. It's $15 a night for a small van, $25 for a large van. I don't know what large versus small is. And it looks safer, but you'd need to be self-contained with your own shower and toilet because there's no facilities really. It looks like you have access to some water and internet. So I don't know how long you can stay there. So those are the options for central Auckland really. Then you break it down into different sections. So I can look at just the campgrounds, and I have stayed at Clark's Beach. That had a really nice relaxed feel about it, and it wasn't too expensive. They're saying $22 here. I think it was 22. That's right next to some water. The downside is I was working at Auckland Airport and it was taking me an hour and a half to drive to work in the mornings just because of the traffic on the motorway. It was getting tiring at the end. I was getting a bit over that 3-hour drive a day. There is a new one here which I haven't heard about, Pullman Park. Looking at the comments, $6 per night. There's a dumping station. Someone saying it was $25. Maximum 3-night stay. Don't know again if I'd feel comfortable leaving my caravan there all day. So there's one called Rama Rama, that's below Drury, so I imagine it'd be probably nearly an hour and a half drive. I wonder where the train station is. You could probably drive to Drury and jump on the train. It looks like it's $23 a night, and from the comments it sounds good. I don't know if this is a new one, I've never noticed that one before. So that's a consideration. And if you go west, there's one that says it's a campground, but it looks like a naturalist club. So you cross that out. And then you get way north, there's 3 at the top. Red Beach is one that I stay at quite a lot, and I like it. It's has a really nice feel. It's $20 a night by the beach. But again, when I was working at the airport, I drove from there and it took 2 hours to get to work. But if I'm working on the North Shore and I can avoid the motorway, then it's fine. Yep. So that's actually quite a nice campground. There's another one, a top 10 at Orewa Beach, but to be honest, that's too expensive for me. And then there was a Stillwater motor camp tucked away in just below there. And I drove out just to have a nosy. It looks like there's a lot of more permanent stayers. So if you're okay with that drive, maybe that's an option too. If you're stuck in Auckland and you're thinking of this lifestyle, I'd highly recommend booking a cabin at one of the campgrounds you're considering staying at, and just stay there 2 nights, drive to work in the morning, drive home at night, and just see how it feels. Could you do this every single day? Do you like the atmosphere of the campground? There's one on the west coast, which would be absolutely stunning. I think it'd also be a nightmare driving to work. This is $44 for 2 people. Unpowered sites, $20 per adult. So it's on the pricier side, but that's an option. Then there's NZMCA parks. When you become a member of NZMCA, you can stay there. There are 2 in Auckland. I haven't stayed at either yet. It's $3 a night for here, but you can only stay for 4 nights. And then the other one is further south. Again, it's $3 a night, and you can stay 14 days in a 60-day period. Now, looking at free parking, there's nothing really. There was an option for free parking at Orewa, but it was basically a car park. I didn't even look how many nights you could stay. So there's the odd freedom camping spot dotted around that aren't really shown on these apps. I think if you want to make the most of freedom camping while working in Auckland, you'd only want to do it in a van or a very, very small motorhome, because most of the freedom camping spots you can only stay 1 or 2 nights, and they're very small car parks. So you're right next to your neighbours, and you just have to hope that you don't have a noisy neighbour. So I have recently heard that there is a car park right by West Haven Drive, right by the water in town, and you pay $21 a night. I don't know how long you can stay there. Z Pier. I'm guessing it's only 1 night, but I'm not sure. Auckland regional parks are usually further out of the city, and they're usually quite green, and there's no powered sites. So I've already talked about Amberley Regional Park. That's the kind of the most central option. Then there's quite a few in the west coast, but if you start looking, that's a car park, that's $8 a night, and maximum 1 night stay, 3 nights in winter. There is a long drop, and it's basically a gravel car park in the bush. So they're all much of the same. I find some of them, they're not really designed for caravans again. They're on the smaller side. They're kind of more set up for tourists. So they kind of can pop in and pop out, or people with motorhomes. Shakespeare Regional Park actually had a really nice looking option. $15 per adult, maximum 7 night stay, a CSC campground, maximum 3 nights stay, $10 per adult. Really pretty place. There's quite a lot of walks there, but the time I went, there'd been a lot of rain and it was flooded. It was really flooded. There's like one in Maraetai, $15 per adult, maximum 7 nights stay. I've considered staying here before, but I think I rang the Auckland Council and couldn't get through because there was some flooding in the area, and I wasn't feeling comfortable about leaving my caravan there. It's probably safe, this one. It's a good area, but it would be quite a drive to work as well. You get the feel for what most of these Auckland campgrounds are like, right? So it looks like there's a few other options on Campermate, but if you look, it's just people's driveways. Driveway Mount Eden. Self-contained vehicles only, $50 a night. But you're central. I had thought the Takapuna campground had closed because it wasn't showing on Campermate anymore, but it looks like it's still there. But they are expensive. I think it was around $40 or $50 a night. But it would be an awesome setting. That would actually be really fun for a weekend if you go there Friday, Saturday, because the nightlife in Takapuna is quite fun. It's quite good. So I think if I was trying to live permanently in Auckland, say if I had a permanent job, I would either do 2 ways. I would either get a very small camper van or motorhome that is self-contained and jump around. So stay at different places every single night. You'd probably want to join Auckland Council, set up an account just so it speeds up that process for booking. And yeah, just drive to work with your home. The other option would be to treat your caravan like a tiny house and maybe try to find some land somewhere. I'm pretty sure that you can only have a caravan there for 90 days. So I hope you found that helpful, and maybe it's not as positive as I had hoped. I do think it is hard if you wanted to work and live in a caravan in Auckland. But if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments below. And seriously, how do people in tiny houses find land? I would be very curious to find out. Hope you enjoyed it. See you later. And to my patrons, Alan, Pauline, Dennis, Luther, David, Matthew and Laurie, and all my other patrons, thank you guys.